Hi everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology. I'm Denise and I'm going to be bringing you your astrological transits for the week of February 5th through the 11th. We're going to have the Leo full moon at 16 degrees and the moon's going to go through the signs of Libra the other way around, Leo to Libra. And not midway, but towards the end, we're going to have Mercury conjunct Pluto and Capricorn too. Whew. So anyway, let's look at these charts and see what comes through. Hold on, I'm going to swap out cameras. Okay, so you can see with the first chart, we're starting with the Leo full moon. But before I get into all the aspects, just know that, of course, the moon is full when it has the full, when it's reflecting back to the sun. So we always have an opposition between the sun and the moon during a full moon, versus, when it's a new moon, the moon's up here, conjunct the sun, joined up with the sun. So, but anyways, with this full moon, this Leo full moon coming in at 16, almost 17 degrees of Leo, it is square Uranus. And that can be quite a bit challenging. And you'll also see that Uranus, so we have that T-square I often talk about, and it's coming from Uranus up to the sun, over to the moon, and then, like I said, always the opposition. So let me focus in on this for a moment. So with Uranus, however anybody wants to say it, I don't care. I prefer Uranus, but it's unique. It's the planet of uniqueness and originality. So I fully support anyone pronouncing it the way they would like. With Uranus at 15 degrees of Taurus, we are all, as humanity, it stays in one sign for 7 years, and we're more than midway through, just a little bit more than midway through the sign of Taurus. So we always have to go back to, what is Taurus about? Well, Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is currently in compassionate Pisces, and Venus wants to unify things. It wants us to, Uranus, wake up and unify, come together in safety, in the spirit of safety, in the spirit of inclusiveness, and not separation. That's what the whole entire cosmos, at least this is what I believe, is that we're in this web of love, set up with love. I mean, it's like if imagine you're in some type of video game and the hard drive, the software program is hardwired to always go back to the state of love. But meanwhile, while we're in there, we can flip around and do all kinds of stuff. We can shoot each other. We can do all kinds of ridiculous things. We can say whatever we want. Because we have free will. So I believe that we're all waking up to that fact that it's about including the safety and security with Taurus, and to learn to value. Venus and Taurus are all about values. And then, of course, we have the other earth signs like Virgo and Capricorn too. Virgo helps to really get into the nitty-gritty of the details, and then Capricorn helps to manifest. With Pluto it's moving through its last degree of Capricorn, we have this opportunity to manifest with that integrity, away from separation. So, for me as a human being, it requires that I get out of my egoic head, mind, my unhealthy ego that wants to, just say what I think, like with a knee-jerk type of response, and we're all up against that with Mars and Gemini. So with this moon in Leo to Aquarius, the Leo moon, it's ruled by the sun, and the sun is in Aquarius, so we have that natural polarity of seeing ways and possibly, hopefully, having ways reflected back to us to get out of a paradigm that is cold-hearted and doesn't care about anyone else, and gets into all the good, positive things which Aquarius is about, which is being treated humanely, having tremendous tolerance, and not being these, like these old white man bigots that just want to keep things the way they were. Well, I mean, any ethnicity, doesn't matter who, where you come from, there is always that possibility for thinking that someone is less than, thinking that you're better than. That's actually the cause of all problems, within the game. So let's look at it like, what was her name? I think Clarence, no, not Clarence. Oh my goodness. Scoville Shin, and I can't think of her first name, but she wrote this book called The Game of Life back in the late 50s, I think. Florence Scoville Shin. I think Shin with 2 N's on the end. So it's a great book. It's all about manifesting, and it's very, very simple. But, playing with those rules, or playing within the rules of a universe that is created in love, which, if you don't believe that, hold on one second. All you have to do is think of the fact that you don't fall off the earth as it's rotating 67,000 miles an hour on its own axis, and the chart represents the earth. and then not only is it doing that, it's also moving through the universe in the, in our galaxy this way, around the solar system, right? Like the sun, and then all these planets around it. So on a personal level, just keep that in your heart, that you are surrounded in a web of love. At least that's what I believe. If you don't believe that, that's fine. Just take whatever you can get here. But with this T-square, with Uranus and the T-square, it's at the apex of the sun and the moon. So the sun is going to shine the light no matter what. And no one can stop that. But how we receive the light is based on our own egoic filter, and that is how I see the moon, as an egoic filter. And when you're clear enough, when your ego is healthy enough to merge with the real self and the higher self, and just be in that state of love, out of separation, it means we have to stop and take a breath, take a pause and breathe, and unless you need to get out of the way of somebody who's coming at you. But most of the time, we're in conversations with people, whether it's online or verbally, and sometimes we tend to just try to respond rather than really, really listen to what's going on. And I think that might be what's happening here. I think for this Leo full moon, it's very possible that we're going to need to not react, because Uranus can go really fast. It's like instant lightning connections in the mind. And we might be seeing things even on the news, because of course Mercury, excuse me, is, hold on, I need to get some water. Okay, so Mercury is conjunct Pluto up here. Remember, Mercury's the messenger. So no matter what's going on here with the sun and the moon and Uranus, Pluto's the strongest slowing movement, or slowest moving planet. And what we're dealing with Pluto is always transformation. Transformation into, back into your real self, into your higher self. Transformation of the ego, of the monkey brain, of transformation of those knee-jerk reactions which put a person into aggression. And that includes passive aggression, because that's still aggressive. It's just that it hides. And we're dealing with, what are we seeing, in politics especially? Is it covert narcissism or overt narcissism? So we have to be careful with those knee-jerk reactions that can be aggression, submission, or withdrawal, and try to get into that unitive state. And especially with Venus in Pisces for its little sojourn, we really need to take advantage of that. And it's trining the south node. It's currently in a waning trine, but it's still there. And the south node in Scorpio can be so much about deep transformation. You know, Pluto rules Scorpio. It used to be Mars. It can still be Mars if you guys want it to be that way, but before we discovered Pluto, it was Mars, and now I tend to just go Mars to Scorpio. I'm sorry, Pluto to Scorpio and Mars to Aries. But it can be, you know, it can be both. Mars can be Aries and Scorpio if you like to go with the old traditional teachings. So back to the transformation of the soul is what Pluto's all about. And how do we do that? Well, there's always the issues of bringing something up that we need to eliminate, that can be very humbling, and it can help you evolve so deeply. But we just have to be okay with being wrong, with making mistakes. We have to be okay with constantly looking for false beliefs and wondering if there's a better way. You know, getting out of duality. Just thinking the old strain of thinking like it has to be this or that, when absolutely it's this and that. There's always a third way. We can always create win-win solutions. Nobody has to be the winner, right? I mean, even look at any president, or I don't know. I don't like using the words emperor, but in other countries, look at any prime minister. They don't do it alone. They have a tremendous team around them to support them. So, you know, just think in terms of that way. They might be taking responsibility for being like the acting head of state or country, but they're not doing it alone. And especially in the USA, Congress has so much power. They just need to make sure, you know, they exercise it in the right way. So anyway, for us personally, the Leo moon, if you can open your heart to the state of love, then you can get into the true meaning of Aquarius. So Leo can be love. Leo can have everything to do with identifying something within that isn't true for you anymore, and then not identifying with it. Let the light of the Aquarius sun help you come through with a different way, something unique. And to be very, very tolerant of yourself. You know, you could look at this, we could, no matter what sign the sun's in, we could look at the sun as being our core essence, because that's what it is, our core essence, which is trying to completely shine who we are out into the world and out in front of our face, right? And then we could look at sometimes the moon, now not always, but sometimes the moon can reveal our early childhood wounding, or our child consciousness, which is, you know, can be very innocent and wise, but it doesn't have the skills that your adult brain will have, right? So you can help identify those places, and then with the square to Uranus, even though there's that tension field, right? And it was building before 10:27 a.m. Pacific time when the Leo full moon happens. So I'm going to get this uploaded today. This is the Thursday before this Sunday. I think today is the 2nd. So just think, start now. Start thinking of the fact that this is a building T-square, because when the moon comes in full at 16 degrees, it's 1 degree past. But, you know, prior to this buildup, it's beginning, you know, we're in here somewhere with the moon. So there's time to work this through. And then when it really does fully hit, when the Leo full moon hits, you may have some very huge release within the heart. especially because, you can release the past, and that's especially true because Jupiter and Chiron are holding space up here in Aries for a whole new experience, right? So there's a flow of healing and expansion where you can no longer abandon yourself. And the only way we stop abandoning ourselves is to do our inner child work. And we go back and we reparent ourselves. And then from there, that shoots us through. When that, what's the word, like subterfuge is gone over the core essence, then your light shines through. So that's my prayer for everyone who watches this video, or actually everyone on the planet. And remember, with Venus in Pisces, to be very compassionate with yourself. Excuse me. It does not matter what you went through or what you've done in the past, as long as, well, let's say it was the worst thing in the world. As long as you could make restitution best you can, and you know that you would never do it again, there's no reason to not forgive yourself. And we have that opportunity here with the sextile to Uranus. This marriage here, this opportunity marriage, and I say that because we have this aspect of the architect, has, the pouring. Think of this as like the Aquarius pouring out the water. And when it is an air sign, a lot of people think it's a water sign, but that's because of the the image that we always see of the man pouring out water. But just think in terms of this as being a bucket aspect that builds something, because it's the aspect of the architect. So we're coming from the wisdom of our past, which we can forgive no matter who was involved and what happened. Even the most atrocious of experiences can be unified into forgiveness. But it's hard, It's really hard work. It's the hardest work you'll ever do, I promise. And then with the trine over to Venus, there's that ability to unify the experience. In Pisces, it helps to dissolve whatever the problem was. And now, this could also be, because to Pisces, to Scorpio, we could also be letting go of an addiction, and then it pours out, and we have freedom with Uranus right here. Just think of that. Think of Uranus as being freedom from the past, with the unification into your human love. See, that's the difference between Venus and Neptune, is that Venus is human love and Neptune is spiritual love. Venus is personal love, Neptune is impersonal love. So there's that. And then, if that's not good enough, we have the sun up here, right, in Aquarius. Remember, brilliance and trying to let go of those old ideas, for the freedom, right? Because Uranus rules Aquarius. Used to rule Saturn, but you can have it co-ruling if you want, like I said. But I tend to go with the modern. Once they discover a planet, why hold on to the old one? Because I see Saturn as form and structure and limitations, and I see Uranus as freedom and all things broken apart that don't need to, old paradigms broken apart that don't need to be there anymore. So I myself, in my mind, these two don't work together well, but it used to be that Saturn ruled Aquarius. Now, when it comes to the rules of society, yeah, that's Saturn in Aquarius. And with, but let's go back to Mars. I'm sorry, Mars in Gemini. It's like squirrel. Mars in Gemini is still kicking up lots and lots and lots of information. And I know a lot of people are telling me that it's too much to watch the news, it's overwhelming, and I get it. And you know what you can do is take it in little bites here and there by subscribing on YouTube to, like, I don't know, MSNBC or any of the other channels. Everyone tells me that they love Midas Touch. So, you can make sure that, you're getting the accurate news. I wouldn't be watching, Wall Street Journal is now owned by, it has been for quite some time, Rupert Murdoch. And you could see it, you could tell. It's like, what happened? And then I had to Google who owns Wall Street Journal. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Because there's trouble. So we have this nice, easy trine to get the information out there to society at large, and it's still kicking up, but we have to do the hard work with Venus squaring Mars. Is it true? Is it true? Is it useful? Or is it just clickbait? Okay, so be careful. Yeah. Like Kier said, and I'll just say this one little thing and then get off my soapbox about it, but, this Sun trine Mars is kind of like opening the floodgates of Facebook back to Trump, even though he's not going to take it because he can't with his so-called Truth Social. He's obligated to stay there. And doubt he's going to go back on Twitter for that reason either. But anyway, this is a perfect example of a trine opening a floodgate, but doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's good to give him that opportunity. And Mars sextiling Chiron gives us as human beings, well, everybody's human here, but I hope. Doubt any robots are watching me. Oh yeah, there are actually, right? Because everything's AI nowadays. Listening to make sure I'm not saying something terribly offensive. But anyway, man, that was a major squirrel moment, and I went there. So this aspect here, so remember the sextiles are always opportunities. Mars, it has to do with communication and kicking up and spinning the info, right? I mean, we could be we could look at this as info wars, and then with the sextile to Chiron is, could be info wars that wound people, or info wars that try to pull in people, lies that try to pull in people who don't really truly have their sense of self yet, and they're finding their way, right? Like, just think of all the people that used to listen to Rush Limbaugh. Maybe they were younger and then he died, and then they found, they actually had the opportunity of having Rush Limbaugh and Alex Jones all at once. So there's that. We have these predators upon society like Mark Zuckerberg and Alex Jones, and we had, what's his face? Yeah, God, that guy was awful. So there's that, right? So we have to have discernment. We really have to question everything before we take it in, and that is actually the most mature way to go. Always question. Use your own wisdom within, because we all have it. We all have it. So what else is going on with this full moon and for all week? Let's see, maybe I could switch charts, because I know this one will be staying. Yeah, Eris to Saturn will be staying. Jupiter to the South Node will be staying. So I'll go ahead and do that rather than complicate things and put more aspects onto this one chart. So let's go ahead and move on to Monday and continue on from here with the weekly overview. So with Jupiter here, quincunx in conjunct the South Node here. This is that aspect that's been there for quite some time, and we're dealing with an adjustment that needs to be made from the past to take all the transformative wisdom of the past, where you're connecting the dots and go, yeah, I remember that happened. Well, what false belief might still be in there about that I'm trying to clear out, right? Things like that. And then you can expand with Jupiter into healing more of your sense of self in Aries, so that you're more and more and more present with yourself, with your real self, as you move through life. And that is exactly what the opportunity with Chiron and Jupiter is all about. Healing. So that's there for quite some time. The sextile, Chiron sextile Mars is going to be there for a little bit. I think it'll be all week, which is really beautiful because that also can help. It's an opportunity to get inside and get the details that are actually aligned with some truth. And there can be some healing around that as you're letting go of what isn't the truth, right? And then here's the other one that was pulling my attention is Mercury to, or I'm sorry, well, either way, Mercury to Neptune. So again, that's the same thing. You know, Mercury, what is the truth? Can I get where I want to go with this belief? But the belief has to be aligned with absolute truth, which Neptune brings in. You know, with the Gemini Mars here, Mercury ruling Gemini and Virgo, but there's nothing in Virgo right now. But Chiron is a lot like Virgo. Chiron's like an interesting, conglomeration of Uranus and Saturn and Virgo. You know, getting into the details. So that's just another weird side note. But yeah, and there's a lot happening with the moon today, but let's stick here with the aspects that are going to be in alignment pretty much all week. I think all week, yeah, with Mercury sextile Neptune. We can think more and more. Well, actually, the best way I would say to use this energy and consciousness is to set the intention, right? Because intention's everything. And then the energy will wrap around your intention. And if your intention is to take self-responsibility for your beliefs and know that you can change them, because if you're the one that made them false in the first place, you're the one that can make them true once you figure out what is true and what is not. And that can be very, very transformative with your soul because, I mean, this is a major conjunction here. Mercury to Pluto is a major conjunction. And, you know, it's going to move into Aquarius soon, so I really have to take advantage of this. We do have a sesquisquare here to Mars. So some people are going to just stubbornly hold on to their false beliefs and just keep kicking it out and spinning it out and yelling at everyone else because they think they know everything. Yeah, well, run. Get away from those people. And that will, you know, this aspect will be there for a little bit. And let's see, what else? When it comes to long-term, 13 to 7, yeah, well, it's not terribly long-term. Actually, let me go with the longer terms. So, Eris, yeah, Eris is not in that aspect to Pluto anymore, which is good. It's trining the moon. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, it's so this Venus, I talked about it already, Venus sextile Uranus. So we have that. Venus trining the south node, we have that, and that aspect of the architect. Yeah, we talked about that. The Sun trining Mars is still there today. And it will be because Mars is going this way. They might be staying this way all week. Let's see. Well, so let's go ahead and move to the moon, it looks like, because the others are just sesquisquares. Oh, wait, I know what I wanted to talk about. Hold on, let's don't forget this. I knew there was something with Eris. So Eris is like Pluto, but she's feminine and says, no more. No more of this crap, basically. And she's square. She's in this double square up here to Mercury and Pluto. So there's, I think, going to be a lot of kicking up what needs to be kicked up from the old paradigms to get away from the patriarchy. And you know, it's like my body, my rights. Get out, you know, keep your political beliefs and your keep the government out of our bodies, basically, male or female. Who, it's, we're talking HIPAA rules, HIPAA, LGBTQ rules, things like that. Okay, and then let's see. Well, I guess I should speak to. We do need to give voice to Chiron in the semi-square to Saturn, because Chiron in Aquarius, just think in terms of your unique individuality and being able to move forward and heal your impulsiveness and your abandonment issues. And then because of the semi-square up here to Saturn, that further reiterates that need to have that freedom away from the government controlling your body and controlling your rights. Part of this has to do with the police brutality that we're seeing. I mean, this has to stop. We really need new rules, and they need to be enforced. There needs to be something more than just letting the states and the different counties have their way. Like, there needs to be some more federal protections. Oh, goodness. It's just so painful. I mean, it's something I can't even watch. I can barely stand to listen to it. So let's see. What else? Yeah, okay, so let's go to the moon. So let's go to the moon. There's no water there, but anyway. So here's the moon at 26 degrees Leo, and it has a nice trine to Eris. So I think women are going to be fighting. I think there's tons of energy and flow for that feminine wisdom to come through that says, if we don't stand up to these atrocities, it's never gonna change. I have so much gratitude to the suffragettes and to any person, any male or female, who stood up for human rights. It's just amazing. Yeah, Venus squaring Mars. That's still there. We spoke about that. So, sticking with the moon, you can see with this inconjunct up here to Pluto, there's an adjustment that's going to need to be made to people in power. It's like the beginning of this week can be quite intense, actually. And that's okay. That's totally okay. Venus in the semi-square up here to, 23. Well, Mercury's moving towards it. So I'll just bring them both together because these two are coming together. They're only 5 degrees apart, a little more than 5. But with Venus, semi-square, Mercury and Pluto, again, this is, think in terms of Pisces, think in terms of unifying, compassion. We're devoted more than ever to our power and our truth coming out without hurting others, of course, because, Pisces is not usually, well, at the worst, Pisces can be a sign of playing the victim, and, that doesn't work too well anymore. But when it's aligned with true power, we can reach out and ask for help. We can compassionately give help and support to each other. We can speak about the atrocities of the past without wanting to harm anyone else, but we definitely are, with Eris and Aries, we're taking that stand. And, she's staying in, Eris doesn't change signs for 556 years or 566, I forget. So it's like, she's been in Aries my entire life. And, in Taurus, it'll get better when that happens. I'll have to look ahead and see how long that takes. Anyway, okay, so the moon is opposing Saturn today. Look at that. That's pretty much an exact opposition at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. You guys are probably all looking at that going, when's she going to talk about that? So the moon in Leo, again, in Leo's all about courage. It's all about your unique original essence. It has to do with your self-expression. It has to do with your self-confidence. It has to do with children and pleasure. And yeah, now there's a real need to be seen and heard and understood with Leo. And the sun rules Leo, so no matter what sun sign you are, you can relate to that. You don't have to be a Leo, or you don't have to have a Leo moon. We all have the sun in our chart somewhere, and we all have a Leo house in our chart, and there you go. So we all have courage. We all have the forces of love and power and peace in our psyche, soul, spirit, body. It's all, that's the deal is just to be in that peaceful place rather than try to put power over others or control others. And to stay in that would be the only way to do that is to go to the love state. So there you go. So if you align your power with your love and the only way you can do that is with peace. So they all work together. But with this opposition to Saturn, there can be a confrontation here. There can be a major confrontation between standing up for your rights, standing up for other people's rights, especially when we see anyone in the government or in a governmental position trying to be above everyone else. Being very bigoted and not having tolerance. Aquarius is a sign, like I said, ruled by Uranus, but Aquarius is a sign that doesn't like to be just, stuck in a box. So the government needs to think in ways that are inclusive of all, in ways that are loving. And, that's pretty much what most of the, they're not perfect, but that's pretty much where the Democrats are coming from. So there can be some confrontation Monday between the Democrats and the GOP. But then again, that might be any day of the week, right? But especially on Monday morning because of this exact opposition here. And that will set the tone for the entire day, even as the moon moves into Virgo. And the Virgo moon will pick out the details and make decisions based on the details, I would think. And then there can be a new coming together by the time the moon moves into Libra at the end of the week. So we'll see. For you personally, just think of this opposition here as being a mirror at one end and a mirror at the other. And if you don't like what's in the mirror, make the adjustments accordingly, and then you can have a breakthrough, big breakthroughs. Oppositions lead to breakthroughs. So, okay, let's go ahead and move forward to Tuesday. Now, Tuesday, we do have the moon in Virgo, and we actually have it as part of a yod. That's lovely. Okay, so the yod is coming from Jupiter. Yeah, 8 degrees. So the moon's coming in at 8 degrees Virgo, first thing in the morning. And we have the quincunx back here to the south node. So again, the wisdom of the past and the ability to transform. But also it could be some crisis point sometimes. A lot of times people have to experience crisis in order to wake up. And that's okay, because we're all waking up no matter what. So Jupiter to the moon. So Virgo discerning, getting the details, the facts, bringing them together, collating, trying to bring through something that matters, like cutting the wheat from the chaff type of or energy. And then the opportunity, again, going back to the past. Did it work? What we did in the past, and I'm saying this politically and personally, has what we have done in the past, has it worked? Has it been working? Well, politically, the GOP, nothing's working there. And it's because they're trying to hold on to the past. They're not into transforming. They're just into power, no matter what. Power over the people at the at the behest. I mean, it's awful. So there's an adjustment that needs to be made for expansion. You can't do things the old way and expect things to change and go in the right direction. Not when you have people who are abusing their power, which is, what we're seeing here with Pluto and Capricorn. But we know what the truth is for us, so we have to just keep holding the space, and we have to keep taking a lot of deep breaths and having the utmost of patience. And that may be another part of, because remember, Uranus is not in the T-square to the moon anymore, but Uranus is still squaring the sun, right? So we've got that 18 degrees Aquarius squaring over here to the 15 degrees of Uranus. And this is agitating energy. It's a challenge to settle in. New information's coming out. It's easy to get agitated. You can feel something that's about to break through, but it hasn't happened yet, and you have to be patient. It's like a woman who knows, she wants the baby to come. It's like tired, in the last, week, oh my God. Or imagine being 2 weeks late or a month late. That's happened many times. Imagine what the mother's going through. So it can be like that, where you want the freedom, but it's not time yet, and we have to wait, and we have to be patient. And when it comes to the political processes in the government, it takes years. It's not something we're going to get over in 1 or 2 years. It's years. Try 4, right? Look how long it took to get the Oklahoma City bomber and what was his name, Kaczynski, and then there was Timothy McVeigh, and my God. Just think in terms of that. And this is worse because it doesn't just involve, with them it was easier. They just had to find the one guy. Instead, this is the DOJ trying to bring safety and security into all of these political dirtbags. There's a lot of them. It's a huge, we're talking RICO, racketeering influenced, whatever, corrupt organizations. It's huge. And we are living in unprecedented times, right? The last time Pluto was in Capricorn was like, let's say 240 years ago, to be somewhere in there, right? We're talking the American Revolution. We're talking, 1776, signing the Articles of Incorporation, I guess, basically, for the USA, independence, 4th of July, all that. So we're a young nation, but we're impatient. So thinking along those terms might be helpful, is to be patient. And I feel like that's what this yacht is about. This finger of fate here, this finger of God saying, if you want healing, you can't be impulsive. We always have to go back. We're clearing out. We're cleaning up. There are adjustments to be made for freedom, for a new sense of freedom, and with Jupiter and Chiron. So personally, we just have to chill, and but keep fighting. You just have to keep saying, nope, 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 not voting for that. Nope, not listening to that. Nice try. And then the moon is trining Uranus and the South Node. So again, the moon is supporting freedom for the, getting the details, more details. So, you have to know the details before you know what to say no to or yes to. And of course, the sun is still trining Mars, so we don't need to speak to that anymore, except for how much energy that gives. Chiron is still sextiling Mars. Yeah, I mean, Mars is really kicking up a lot. But the truth is coming out. There's a spotlight on what has been said in the past. Yeah, okay. Venus still squaring Mars. Yeah, I mean, right here with this square. Well, here, let's go ahead, because the other, no, wait, I can't. Oh, hey. Oh, I missed this. Look at this. Mars is now in a T-square to the moon and Venus. So Mars is at the apex. And yeah, of course, the opposition. And this is a waxing, right, because the moon's going this way. And it's at 8 degrees. Venus is at 14. Mars is at 11. So this is first thing in the morning. Oh my goodness, I should have noticed this earlier. But what's happening here, and then there's that trine to the sun I was talking about. So we do have the sun, you know, the spotlight being shown to who's aggressively putting information out there. The moon in Virgo is over here saying, is it the truth? It's, you know, it's like, just the facts, ma'am, right? And then it's also in this sesquisquare up here to Mercury in Capricorn that wants just the facts and what happened in the past and what people are doing, have done. So there's a stubbornly holding on, a stubborn energy of holding on that needs to happen in order to get to the truth. And this spin, you know, this Mars in Gemini is still just kicking up and spinning. So again, if someone in your personal life is playing the victim and they're saying, you know, maybe they've borrowed like $5,000 from you by now and they haven't shown any bit of paying any back and they're not making payments, and then they're coming at you, like maybe it was 500 the first time, and then 500 the second time, and then, you know, 1,000, and then, you know, and here we are up to $5,000 and they haven't bothered to pay back any, but they're coming at you again for more money. This might be the time to say, I don't think so. Because you with Gemini, I'm sorry, well, Gemini's information, but with Virgo, we're tracking patterns. And Virgo, well, with the moon in Virgo, we're wanting to connect the dots and bring together a lot of information, but we're also wanting to, trust our guts. And sometimes we can't if the information is overwhelming and there's too much coming at you. And especially with the square to Venus, because it's someone that you care about and deeply love, but they're playing the victim game. This is just one possibility, where they're playing the victim game, and you're over here going, wait a minute, something doesn't feel right. And then Mars, they just keep coming at you because there's the sun and there's, you know, all this other challenging situations that could come up. And the best way I could say to handle that would be to take time to yourself. Virgo needs time to itself to assimilate what's happened in the past and to make a decision. So it's okay to be stubborn this day and not make a decision yet because you're needing more information and you're trying to, get to the truth. So, okay. Yeah, and then there's also that sesquisquare here back to Eris. So there's that ability to hold your ground. Venus sextile, let's see, yeah, with Uranus, right? So there's that opportunity. That's still there. Venus sextiling Uranus, there's that opportunity to break free. And that brings in the aspect of the architect. But this time, the drop-off point, so the energy is coming from the moon, Uranus, waking up, connecting the dots, getting all the information, trying to make a decision. It doesn't feel right, what's happened, and you're trying to move forward. But there's that sextile to the past as well. And you know what happened in the past, right? So expect more of that in the future if you don't make the change that you need to make. And then the drop-off point to Venus helps to unify something deep within yourself. That's really beautiful. So you can be empathic and very devoted, but also don't let anybody gaslight you and don't let anybody victimize you, right? And don't fall into that victim trap where, they're doing the poor me thing, but they're not making any changes. It's like, it's like Trump. It's a witch hunt, and everybody's, and he uses that to grift. So, okay. Wednesday morning, the moon's at 20 degrees Virgo here. It's in an inconjunct quincunx to the sun. So again, adjustment, an emotional adjustment needed because information's coming in. Jupiter is still in that inconjunct to the south node, so healing, the space for healing is there for quite some time. And in fact, we have an exact inconjunct. But Jupiter doesn't move that quickly, so this is probably here at least all this week. The moon is in an opposition to Venus and Neptune. So again, source energy, personal energy. Now see, look how Venus is moving closer and closer to Neptune. So that personal love and spiritual love, spiritual source and your personal resources are coming together in a big way. Pisces has like no limitations. It's not... it doesn't have a strong boundary, as Saturn does. It's more of an exchange of energy and consciousness. That's why it's so easy to get into those high states of, openness and bliss in meditation. And it's also, anything to do with art and music and all types of creative form that are very, very inspiring. And with Jupiter in Aries, there are new ways of inspiration coming through. So focusing in more on the moon, though, for the day, because that's what it's all about, we can see that the moon has that, trine to Uranus, and then up here to it's Mercury and Pluto, even though there's no double line, but there should be, and there will be later on in the day, I'm sure. But I mean, this is 2 degrees here. Mercury is talking to Pluto. We are communicating with each other about people in power, and we are discerning. With the moon in Virgo there, we are majorly discerning what is going on, right? And then from there, we're creating some new ways to be free. And this has been building because this right here, the moon in Virgo here, is at 20 degrees and Uranus is at 15. So this was building early in the morning. This is like waking up, probably from information from dream time that really helps you move forward in manifesting what you're trying to manifest. There could be some major breakthrough when you wake up about either the information from dream time or wake up to, emails or some other, communications about something coming through, breaking free for you. It's like, oh, hey, somebody finally read my email. That type of thing. And that's especially true because of the sextile. Look at the exact 1529 to 1503. So we have right here an exact sextile to Venus. And Venus usually brings in something tangible. Pisces is not as tangible, and you can see the aspect of the architect here, there's something building. But if let's say you're a healthcare practitioner, that would rule Virgo. Let's say you work for a large organization that takes care of, a huge amount of people in a compassionate way. That brings in Pisces. And Uranus in Taurus is, physical, very, very physical ways. So this could be a new job or new opportunity to go in a new direction. It can be a really, really wonderful thing. Now, we do have that little sesqui square there to the south, or I'm sorry, to the north node, but I think that that's a good one. I think it's good to hold on to what you're really wanting. Go for what you really want. Because it looks like things are breaking free. Let's look at, because I think this is the next, let's see. No, I must address that. Let's see, did I miss this? Yeah, I did. Okay, when did I miss it? Oh no, I guess I did talk about it. I did talk about it on Monday. Okay, but it's still here on Wednesday, but it's not on Thursday. So let's talk about this one right here. See how Neptune at 23 degrees Pisces is sextiling Mercury at 26 degrees, while Mercury's moving towards Pluto at 28. So Mercury to Neptune sextiling. The sextile brings in the opportunity. Mercury is communication. In Capricorn, it's about manifesting. It's about something that has happened and is already in solid form, or something that is going to happen that brings in more power. And to Neptune, it can be very, very good for art. And notice, it's like we have a kite experience going on with the moon here, because we have the aspect of the architect at one end and at the other, and it all comes back to the moon. But it all actually points to Venus, and that's, Neptune's involved with Mercury over here. So, wow. And as the moon moves more this way, it's going to involve Neptune even more at 23 degrees and 28 degrees to Pluto. So that all translates into meditation, dream time, visualizing, going in the direction that you want to go, and getting the details to actually bring it in, to manifest that. And it creates more freedom in your life and more power, empowering yourself by going in the direction you want. That's good for any day, though, right? But man, the universe is certainly supporting it now. There's no fight. You're not going to get any fight from the universe over it. Okay, so Thursday, the moon is newly into Libra. There aren't a tremendous amount of aspects going on to the moon, but these are good. So Mercury and Pluto, again, we're talking about what empowers us and empowers others, and who's abusing their power and who isn't, who's working in the light and who isn't. To the moon, right, in Libra, wants balance and fairness, no matter what. Sometimes Libra, especially in early degrees of the sign, it can be having a hard time. So there's a flow of energy, but can be having a really hard time making a decision and committing. Because it wants to see what's going on both sides. Nothing wrong with that. But there's this opposition, and it's notice how the moon's at 2 degrees going this way, and it's opposing Jupiter, but it will include Chiron as it moves forward. So let's just put these two together, because that's from 6 a.m. in the morning on, that's where the energy's going. So we are going to be weighing our decisions against what brings in something new that is healing. How is, when you're trying to make a decision, it's like the pros and cons of like, how is this helpful? How is this not helpful? Things like that. And then, all the while, this opposition still going on from Mercury and Pluto to Eris. It's all about women's rights. It's all about what's good for the family, what's good for the feminine within anyone, because the divine feminine within anyone that's the receiving part of us. right? The divine masculine is the active, outgoing. So like I'm speaking now, but if someone is here with me, I would be stopping my speaking and I would be listening, and I'd be in my divine feminine then, right? So it's active and I won't say passive, I would say active and receptive. It's not a passive thing to listen. It's a receptive thing to listen. And you can see with Eris in the sextile to the sun, look how the sun is really close to Saturn at this point. So we're shining the light on those, political and anybody in a position of power. There's a lot of light going on there. And then here we are with Eris saying, we have an opportunity here to find a new way if these people are not in alignment with the truth, or what is loving, or what is helpful. And especially with Chiron, oh my goodness, we have an exact sextile here. So Mars is at 12, Chiron's at 12. So moving forward, Mars motivates us to think in new ways and communicate in new ways when it's sextiling. I should do this here to Chiron, right? And Jupiter's moving in that direction too, although Mars is still moving. They're going to be tracking each other for a little bit, but anyhow, we're still not out of the Mars retrograde until the middle of March. And that means that we're still revisiting what happened in the past, as in disinformation, as in lies, half-truths, which is still a lie, but they'll take something. When they're into the game of disinformation, they'll take one little tiny thing that's a truth and then a bunch of lies go along with it, and people glom onto that one little piece of truth because we're all hardwired to go towards the truth, and then our mind is like, what? Well, if there's something in a person's mind that is hateful and they want to hold on to that, then they get sucked in. So it's always about love. And Chiron in Aries is trying to teach people that it's always about loving yourself and loving others. It's not, especially with the moon in Libra can be us, and the, them or us. And with the Aries, polar opposite, it's like me versus them, or us versus them. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's a dualistic way of thinking. We need to think of what is fair, what brings in equality. Even if we didn't have it in the past, we need new ways. So just think in terms in those terms in your own life. If someone has treated you unfairly, you don't need to beat them up, but you definitely need to walk away, because they're just going to keep doing it until you teach them who you are. It's a test. Okay, so Friday, I ran the chart for when Mercury is exactly joined up with Pluto, as you can see, and it turns out to be 9:13 a.m. Pacific, so about, afternoon, almost 12:15 Eastern. And again, we have that kite configuration to the moon. So, but let's focus into Pluto first. So Pluto and Mercury conjunct. There is some culmination of information as to what happened in the past and how can we powerfully move forward. And there is the stubbornness with some people to hold on to the lie, and others to go towards the truth. So I'm really hoping that there's some breakthrough with Roe v. Wade and Dobbs. That would be great with Eris involved there. But in your personal life, again, does it look like a duck? Does it quack like a duck? Does it walk like a duck? If all those, three pieces of criteria come through, it's a duck, right? Okay. The moon in Libra, still here, So let's do, hold on, oops. Let's do the kite. It's the kite again. Yay. It's not exact, but it's good enough. I like it. If it were exact, it would all go, right up to Chiron here, but it's a little bit off because of the sun there over to Eris, but that's good too. So this is really interesting, you guys, when you think about it. So let's don't leave the focus off the moon, but I also want to bring in this here because this is amazing. So let's go with the moon first. So the moon in Libra is cooking its way towards Scorpio. It's by this midpoint, we have the opportunity here to really make those decisions that are needed. We've been weighing the opposites and the pros and cons, and now we're ready to move towards what is the most empowering to us so that things can work with more ease, more freedom and ease and flow in life. Maybe we're letting go of false beliefs that we always need to struggle. Maybe we're opening up to our inner beings as a way to, which means you're letting go of your ego that says I have to. Oh God, I remember one client. It was such a breakthrough when he got into the belief that he said, I have to bleed to succeed. Meanwhile, he was in construction and kept hurting himself, even electrocuted himself, or was electrocuted, but it probably was his fault. I don't know. I didn't want to blame him. I just was like, oh my God. And we got inside, he got inside, I held space for him to get inside of what belief held all that in place. And it was just such an amazing breakthrough. So there can be breakthroughs into the past, like especially to Eris and to Chiron, with the moon there opposing. And, Jupiter's there close by. Jupiter's so big, let's just include it all because Jupiter's there for healing and expansion. But oftentimes we heal through the opposite. We have to look at the false belief before we can release it. You can't just think you move forward by, oh, it's all love and light. Well, it is, but if you don't focus on if you don't clean up your garage, you won't be able to find your car. If you don't, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, yeah. Anyway, I'll stop. So Libra, the moon in Libra here is bringing in, there's a huge opportunity coming from a new way to structure something in your life. And the sun getting closer and closer and closer to Saturn is going to just continue to bring in that opportunity. And Saturn is not that far away from Eris, so there's new structure and freedom for the divine feminine, as long as we have the courage to stand up for ourselves and we're not going to take it anymore, but we're also not going to kill anyone, right? Because that just makes us as bad as them. But they continue, to fight. The need to stand up for yourself. And then the Libra moon hopefully brings in that energy of reconciliation, of peace. Libra wants balance. It wants fairness. It wants to nurture relationship and partnerships. It wants to create win-win situations. And the only time it gets into trouble is when we're going along, because it's ruled by Venus, if we're going along in just appearance values and trying to, create peace at any price type of a thing, and trying to move forward in a way that makes everybody happy, even though there's a bad apple that needs to be addressed, that can contaminate everything if it's not taken out. And I don't mean taken out in a bad way. I just mean like, when you pull the weeds out of a garden so that the food can grow or the flowers can grow. Otherwise, they'll get taken over. So that's that balance, but that is, done with love. Now, also with the moon trining Mars, there's a lot of talking about what needs to change, but what is fair. And again, we have two aspects of the architect, and the bucket is coming back here to what is empowering and what is healing, right? So if we're not all wanting, what we want for ourselves, we should also want for others. Otherwise, we're not in those win-win situations. If we're wanting something because it gives us power over others, that's just not the way to go. And that's what we see in politics so much, is this need for superiority. So, yeah. And meanwhile, Venus is getting closer and closer to Neptune every day. What else? Let's look at this. Especially here, we don't have, it's not a yod, but we do have two quincunxes, two inconjuncts to the moon, and they're coming off of Uranus and Venus. And Venus will do the same, the moon will do the same aspect with Neptune. So, but anyway, for now, it's our devotion to compassion, that it might take an adjustment to make those hard decisions in relationship that are actually healing for both, but for a while it doesn't feel that way, because we have to be careful about victimizing ourselves and staying in that victim-persecutor, triangle type of thing. Yeah. There's a lot of information online if you guys need help with that, about power dynamics and abusive situations. But basically, I always go back to the thing that I was taught, which was, if you allow someone to abuse you, you're also abusing them, because you're not teaching them what is loving. So no one wants to stay in that for very long, but it often happens with women and abusive partners. But then again, the other way around too. There can be women that abuse their husbands. So yeah. But anyway, with the aspect of the architect here, we're in the realm of Chiron to Mars. So a lot of energy and motivation into healing is possible, and bringing through your gifts of presence, being very present in your body. That takes work. Being very present with someone and not getting distracted. Who has ever gone through that? I mean, we've all gone through that, where you go out to eat with someone and you sit down and they get out their phone. It's like, what? I'm right here. What's more important than the person you're sitting with? Then again, sometimes if you have I don't know. I think when we're all in those, maybe it's a big party, and then that might not apply, especially if you're trying to help someone get to the party. So context is always important. But then with the moon trine, and then with the aspect of the architect here going from the moon to the sun, and this one connects with Eris, that brings in that empowerment, that empowering situation that can happen if we're just very cognizant of how much courage it takes to be in relationship and try to honor each other's unique, original ideas, and that we're all different, and to be much more tolerant. But it can also be tricky if there's somebody who's trying to, control the situation. Now, this could also be breakthroughs in science that happen because of, Aquarius is, Uranus and Aquarius rule science. So hopefully there's something there. That would be wonderful. And you can see that there's still that inconjunct happening back to from Jupiter to the South Node that's going to be there well beyond this week. Okay, and then Saturday we have, and I did this one for the exact time when Mercury moves into Aquarius. So it's Saturday, February 11th, 3:23 a.m. Pacific. And the aspects to that are still, we still have the double square, or we have this, we still have, I'm sorry, the single square from Pluto to Eris, because that's the empowering, courage that we all need to hold against the darkness. But you can see that we have Mercury and Pluto in a T-square back to the moon for the morning. So the moon is exactly opposing, it's, 26, it's going to be 20, no, wait, it's a couple degrees past. Okay, so really early in the morning, we had an exact opposition between the moon and Eris. So maybe there's, I hope it didn't turn into a fight with somebody late at night, because of the approaching energy can be so much more strong. So Friday night, don't get in a fight with anyone, because it might keep you up all night. Seriously. My goodness. But anyway, with this T-square up here, from Mercury and Pluto back to the moon, it's, it's again, politically, I think it's all about what is fair and what is not. On a relationship level, it's the same thing. Do you want to be in a relationship that isn't fair and equal, right? I mean, I know we all go through times where, like let's say, mom's pregnant and she can't work, especially at, 8 months or whatever. Although a lot of women can work online, and there's so many single, women, single moms. But there are times when it's okay to, we're all interdependent on each other anyway, so there's times when it's okay for a woman to be completely financially dependent on her husband. But especially, like, imagine if she's having twins. And he loves doing that for her, to give her that time, that space that is so necessary. Or it could be the other way around, where husband wants to change careers and has to go to school in a whole new way, get a whole new degree. Or it could be that they lose their job and a new one, isn't there yet. And so, we support each other in ways that can be really beautiful in relationship. So there could be some tension there going on with this T-square. And yeah, as long as, and especially with this late degree Libra, as long as we're coming from the place of what is loving and what creates, as long as we're moving towards equality, and where things are equally shared, then everything's going to be just fine. And you can see that here with, so that has a big piece of this Mercury moving into Aquarius. Mercury, the way Mercury is going to change from Capricorn to Aquarius is that there's going to be more thinking outside the box. There's going to be some new ideas, basically. And as Mercury moves closer and closer, it's going to hook up with Saturn. You can see that because Saturn's going to sit right there. But then again, Saturn's going to move into Pisces, but Mercury will get there way faster. But right now, the conversation and the thinking and the awareness is about what is good for everyone, rather than just these few people with all the money and all the power. So Mercury in Aquarius is going to really open up some things. Just think of like Mercury hooking up with Uranus, and it's that same energy. We want freedom. We want to break free, but we need to be self-responsible. Self-responsible, because self-responsibility are the keys to our freedom. So yeah, okay. And then the moon is in. The moon Libra is in this aspect of the architect to the sun and Saturn, and the moon has already been there with that trine to the sun. So there's a flow of relationship oriented what's the right word here to combine all of this? Well, the moon in Libra, to break it down, the moon in Libra again is just, it wants fairness and it wants equality, and it wants to make decisions that are based in long-term partnerships. But with the challenge up here to Mercury breaking free into Aquarius, it's that we have two air signs now talking to each other and going, you know what, maybe these people just aren't going to come along, and maybe I need to go my own way. And then with this trine to the sun in Aquarius, there's the energy to do that. And you can see the structure of, because it's been there for so long with the Saturn in Aquarius, we can see a new way. You know, I mean, we have role models for the way it could be, and we've had them there for quite some time. So let's see. All the other aspects are the same. Let's stick with the moon for a bit with this sesquisquare to Mars, and then Mars and the sesquisquare to Pluto. Whew. The information, the stubbornly holding on to pieces of information, like I was saying before, that one little tiny piece of truth, but then the rest is lies. There's a challenge there. And then that might be part of the decision-making process that helps a person become free. Hopefully, that's the way it would be, right? If we're always going towards the truth, if we're always asking for what is the truth in any given situation, and then but now true. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, and then we'll be done. Or for a minute. We have our own personal truth, which is what happened to us in the past. And our own personal truth is also, connected to our personal or real feelings, that we have feelings about things based on what happened to us in the past, based on our past experiences. But then we also have what I like to call absolute truth, which is, to me, Neptune, especially in Pisces, where all possibilities are there. And just because something happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen in the future, unless you really believe in that part of the past, and maybe you want to cling to the past. So if you're wanting to cling to an old relationship that hasn't been working for you and hasn't been fair, there's the opportunity to see something new and break free in a very independent way. And that's especially there with, this Mars trining Chiron as well. Let's see. Yeah, so the difference between, your personal truth and absolute truth, there's both are valid, both are very, very valid, but one will lead you away from staying stuck in the past. But that doesn't mean you don't still honor that it happened and honor all of your feelings as you're working through it. So I think that's all I want to say. I can't really, with Mercury and Uranus, just expect a lot of communication coming from both sides. On one side, that'll be unique ideas, very original, that are very tolerant to all people, all of humanity, because Aquarius is a humanitarian sign. But Aquarius has its dark side too, just like any side does. And the dark side of Aquarius is wanting to control reality based on your based on a person's cold-hearted view of the way things should be, rather than the way things are right now. And what helps me is to always go to the compassionate place of Pisces and try to see everyone's, put yourself in those people's shoes before you judge them, right? They're coming from survival if they're trying to get away, usually, right? But then you have to draw the line around violence. No violence allowed. And even nonviolent communication would be nice, wouldn't it? So, yeah. Okay, I think I'm done. If I've raised any questions that don't make sense, feel free to drop a comment in. If I've missed anything, if you're an astrologer watching this video and I've missed something, I truly appreciate your comments. And yeah, other than that, I think I'll go ahead and move on because the other aspects are kind of small and, they'll be gone by the end of the day. So, okay, take good care, you guys. Bye.